Hello everyone, welcome to Laidback Gaming, and with over 20 years of FPS gaming experience, today we're diving into one of the newest entries in the free-to-play genre, xDefiant. When booting up xDefiant, it's easy to expect it to be a lot like Call of Duty, and while there are some heavy influences from COD, especially the overall gameplay, things like gunplay patterns, there are some key differences. You get the feeling of familiarity with xDefiant, and it is reminiscent of COD, but the DNA of xDefiant is more like the classic versions of COD rather than these modern, bloated iterations we have nowadays. Speaking of bloated, one of the reasons I do like xDefiant is it's only 30 gigabytes to download, which means that you can have some other stuff on your hard drive. Other stuff. In the first few matches you play, there might be a sense of disappointment due to the lack of anything truly quote-unquote new in the gameplay experience. The formula is rather simple. Regenerating health, great gunplay, a couple of utility items, and create a class. This setup has been around since the days of COD 4. However, xDefiant introduces some defining features, like a longer time to kill, faction passives, and overall faction abilities. Once any initial disappointment is set aside, the simplicity becomes enjoyable. Actually, the more time spent playing, the more it feels like a trip down memory lane to FPS games from 10 to 15 years ago. There's a strong sense of nostalgia for games like the original Modern Warfare and older free-to-play FPS games like Combat Arms. Sometimes, simpler is better. And just because something feels retro doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Many older anime, games, and movies are still loved, so gameplay doesn't always need to make drastic changes to be enjoyable. I think one of the defining features and what put this game on the map is the game's skill-based matchmaking, or a lack thereof. Many FPS players are familiar with the infamous skill-based matchmaking, or SBMM. Even worse than SBMM, there's something that's very manipulative called engagement-based matchmaking. One of the best features of xDefiant is the absence of these systems. While the need for SBMM in ranked play is understandable and even appreciated during intense ranked matches in games like Apex Legends, these features often spill into casual playlists. This can make players who invest a lot of time into the game feel punished for improving, leading to the frustrating experience of stagnation. Improvement becomes less noticeable as the competition scales with your skill. For the longest time, it might feel like the lack of practice or being washed, but the reality is that skill improvements are often punished by these systems. SBMM is fine for ranked play, but sometimes games should be more about fun, and xDefiant mirrors those days of old. Ironically, the lack of SBMM offers a more consistent experience. Sometimes you'll face some really good players, but other times the lobby will be easier. It's really a breath of fresh air after all these years of SBMM. Let's talk about the most important part of any game, which is the gameplay itself. xDefiant offers an intense 6v6 close quarters experience. At its best, it delivers a fun, chaotic, adrenaline-fueled mix of gunplay, movement, objective play, and ability usage. When everything clicks, you'll feel like Wesley from Wanted, weaving, shooting, sprinting, dodging, and kicking ass with satisfying gunplay. Speaking of guns, Ubisoft offers a large arsenal of weapons to choose from, with different ways to unlock them. This can vary from getting a certain number of kills with a weapon class to simply running with a pistol out. Unlocking new guns provides that little push to experiment with different weapon classes. Some standout weapons right now are the ACR, the AK-47, and the MP7. These are noticeably stronger than the other weapons, although some others can still get the job done. Snipers hit hard and can deliver that polarizing one-hit kill, but quick-scoping is punished by any movement and the hold-your-breath mechanic. Most of the weapons feel good enough, though the damage falloff for SMGs feels punishing. Some weapons will also feel inconsistent, although this might be due to netcode issues or the hit detection. Sometimes guns kill in several bullets, while other times they'll need way more. This inconsistency needs the most work, as dying behind walls and experiencing delayed kills can be really frustrating. Each weapon has unique damage, rate of fire, and recoil patterns. Recoil can be mitigated by learning the recoil patterns, using attachments, or a hidden mechanic called recoil smoothing. However, hipfire is laughably ineffective, which makes it hard to kill targets right in front of you. Reload animations are satisfying, and running completely out of ammo gives you that slightly longer animation as you need to rack that bullet into the chamber. Like COD, you can cancel these animations. Due to the longer time to kill, you will have to reload to get multiple kills sometimes, and headshots are crucial for winning duels, getting multi-kills, or going on streaks. The longer you play with the gun, the more you level it up and unlock attachments. You can put up to 5 attachments on your gun, and attachments make recoil more controllable, change the sprint to fire speed, give you a higher fire rate, or simply give you a red dot. One drawback is that most guns will unlock attachments in the same order, making progression feel a little stagnant. Shooting the guns gives you a satisfying amount of visual and auditory feedback. There's an appropriate oomph for different assault rifles, snipers, and shotguns, and SMGs trade that oomph for that gratifying rate of fire. I will say, although the first-person gun sounds sound pretty good, but when other people are firing the guns, it doesn't really reflect where they are or the environment they're in. Overall, I would say this is an assault rifle game. While other weapons are playable, the hit-scan nature of this game and the size of the maps makes assault rifles the most optimal. Two of the most fun and unique weapons are locked behind certain factions' ultimate abilities. The 5.7 in particular is ridiculously fun, and the particle shotgun inside the bubble shield makes you feel unstoppable. And this brings us to the next point, faction choice and class abilities. The game features 5 factions, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. One positive aspect of Ubisoft owning a collection of intellectual properties is the ability to draw from various franchises, and xDefiant presents factions from The Division, Ghost Recon, Far Cry, Splinter Cell, and Watch Dogs. Each unique group has a passive ability which can range from extra health, burn damage, faster healing, or not appearing on the radar. Additionally, there are 2 active abilities per faction, offering flexibility in how you play. Each faction also has an ultimate ability capable of changing the outcome of a fight or an objective. Initially, there might be concerns about the game leaning too much into being a hero shooter, but the focus remains on the gunplay. Even when performing exceptionally well, you're likely to only get your ultimate once or twice per game. It never feels too unfair to die to an ultimate, and the abilities are beneficial without being annoyingly overpowering. Most abilities are fun and interactive, though some, like the digital ghillie suit and the one-way wall, may be less favored. Each class changes your approach slightly, with certain character classes being suited for different playstyles. The class approach does add a little bit of depth to the game. Time will tell if overpowered classes and metas develop, but right now, everything seems pretty balanced and enjoyable. For instance, Libertad is well suited for that classic COD gameplay with their faster health regeneration. Echelon are great for having better situational awareness, and Phantoms are good for challenging objectives and peeking into multiple people with their extra health and shielding. Before moving on to another topic, I just want to round out the gameplay discussion by talking about the movement in xDefiant. Movement feels crisp and tight, but also a bit janky. Compared to Apex Legends and Titanfall, which are known for their excellent movement mechanics, xDefiant falls a bit short. You're restricted on where you can go on the map due to an abundance of invisible walls, and it's also impossible to maintain momentum while chaining jumps and slides together. You can cycle through sprinting, sliding, and jumping, but it doesn't feel quite as smooth as in Apex, and jumping and airstrafing can be easily abused. The airstrafing mechanics in particular are pretty frustrating to deal with, and it would be beneficial to see some sort of limitations on the amount of direction you can change in the air or the number of jumps you can do repeatedly. Unlike Apex, where performing airstrafe requires sacrificing aiming at the target and a little bit of skill with the tap strafe, in xDefiant it's really easy to do without any real trade-off, and there should be some sort of risk-reward imbalance in jumping, but currently there isn't. The gameplay modes in xDefiant are familiar to those who have played other FPS games. Escort is very reminiscent of Overwatch or Team Fortress 2, where you just escort a payload. Zone control is similar to a smaller version of Battlefield's Rush. Domination is well known for those who play Call of Duty. Occupy is essentially hardpoint mode, and Hotshot gets a little bit of originality, similar to Kill Confirmed but with a plot twist. The Hotshot, or the player with the most confirmations per team, gets faster reloads and movement speed. You might notice the absence of classic deathmatch and free-for-all modes, but I feel like this is intentional as the game incorporates elements of a hero shooter, and one of the aims is to encourage team play around objectives. Now, let's talk about where the gunfights take place. The map design in xDefiant depends on the mode you're playing. There are linear maps and arena maps. The arena map, called Arena, stands out as particularly great, while the other maps feel like basic 3-lane maps typical of most other FPS games. Coming from a game like Apex Legends where there's a sense of freedom, it takes some getting used to the restrictions of invisible walls, non-scalable objects, and being stuck on one plane. Some maps have elements of verticality, but most will stick to one level. Visually, it's fun to visit different game universes, but sometimes the game suffers from visual clutter, making it hard for players to stand out. It would be beneficial for developers to borrow from Riot Games' Valorant or Valve's Team Fortress 2 and make the game more readable. Overly detailed areas can make it hard to spot players. Some spots of maps may need reworking for balance, but it seems the developers designed the maps intentionally around abilities like the wall or the bubble to help push past choke points or spots with little cover. Speaking of progression in xDefiant is a mixed bag. Some elements are fun and tied to player skill, like getting headshot kills to unlock certain weapons. However, other aspects such as unlocking attachments can feel overly grindy. Given that this is a free-to-play game, it's likely that the slow progression is intentional to encourage players to make in-game purchases. Despite this, even without attachments, it's possible to perform well, mowing down opponents. The game has evolved significantly from earlier free-to-play models like Combat Arms or AVA, which were essentially pay-to-win. There are also a lot of alternative costumes and outfits that can be unlocked simply by playing the game, adding a rewarding element to progression. In xDefiant, the only way to play the game is multiplayer, so you'll be spending a lot of time in the matchmaking system. The matchmaking system prioritizes low ping over any sort of skill-based matchmaking, making it relatively quick to find matches. One downside to the system is that you can't stay in the same lobby when the game finishes. Instead, a new set of players is found for each match, and it'd be nice to be able to stay in the same lobby. A major issue that needs addressing is the netcode and server performance. There is a significant peeker's advantage, and overall the netcode feels inconsistent and subpar. It's particularly noticeable when comparing it to the more consistent gameplay experience in some of the other FPS titles like Valorant or Apex Legends even. Say what you want about Call of Duty, they've really figured out their netcode, and it does feel really subpar, especially to the main competitor there. Let's take a moment to discuss the visuals in xDefiant. This isn't really about visual fidelity and graphics, although the game can look great on its highest settings. As a competitive multiplayer game, I encourage you to run it at the lowest settings since frames win games. The more important aspect of the visuals is the presentation and the design itself. And starting from the main menu, it reflects a return to roots of the game design, focusing on a player-first approach. Unlike some other games, the menu in xDefiant is simple, clean, and easy to navigate. The biggest button in the main menu is Play, not the store or the Battle Pass. While there are references to the store, the easiest action is to jump into a game. This minimalist design extends to the game UI, which is clean and utilitarian, helping to prioritize gameplay. It's really reminiscent of an old Tom Clancy game with its minimalistic yet functional UI. The character designs from each of the specific factions seem to fit into the universe pretty well, and none of it seems to be immersion breaking. Some of the costumes in the store seem to be a little bit out there, but it's not like you're having Snoop Dogg, Homelander, or Nicki Minaj run around the battlefield. As stated before, the gun models and animations look great, and the environments are varied enough to keep it interesting. Let's discuss the sound design. The weapons sound punchy enough, with enough low end to make gunfights feel intense, and then you'll have the bullets whizzing by your head, which feels enjoyable. However, more differentiation when firing weapons in different environments, like indoors versus outdoors with echoing reverb, would enhance the experience. On a positive note, headshots and kills are accompanied by satisfying sound cues, rewarding you and aiding in game clarity. Footsteps are audible enough to triangulate opponents' locations, though it can be a bit challenging if they are above or below you. One element that can add or detract from the atmosphere is the announcer, who changes based on the faction you choose. These announcers can be hit or miss depending on your personal preferences. I found most enjoyable to serviceable, but some, like the cleaner's announcer, might not match everyone's taste. If you enjoy a certain faction's playstyle but not their announcer, this could be a downside. Lastly, let's talk about the overall presentation, which is pretty good with a little bit of jank. When you die, the experience can be a bit jarring due to the lack of a kill cam or a detailed breakdown of where you were shot and the damage dealt. This extends to the lack of a replay or play of the game feature, which would greatly enhance that post-match experience. Despite these issues, the presentation is generally minimalistic and clean and reminiscent of old Tom Clancy games. Hopefully, future updates will add some of these extra features and help to round out the experience. Finally, let's bring the review home with a closing statement. Overall, xDefiant is a fun game where you can sink some hours in without having to sweat too much or play 4D chess to do well. While the formula isn't new or original, there are plenty of solid game mechanics and shooting to keep you entertained. The longer time to kill and faction abilities set it apart from Call of Duty, while still maintaining a familiar feel. The lack of skill-based matchmaking means you aren't punished for doing well in your matches, and I'm hoping that a competitive meta or specific gun builds don't ruin the casual fun that the game offers. It would be great to see the game grow and add features like kill cam, damage report on kill, or play of the game, and even a replay system. Additionally, improving the netcode and adjusting the gun balance would enhance the experience. Overall, it's a solid package for a 30GB free download. Given that the game is free, it has an incredible value with a return to classic game design with a player-first approach. I'd rate it a solid 7.7 out of 10. Feel free to consider both the positive aspects, like the enjoyable gunplay, the minimalistic UI, and the negatives such as the inconsistent netcode and lack of kill cams while forming your own opinion. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more gaming content, and let me know in the comments your thoughts about xDefiant and what features you'd like to see added. Don't forget to hit the bell icon and stay updated with the latest videos. If you'd like to see gun reviews, that's something I'm interested in doing, but only if the interest is there. So let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see any gun reviews, or which guns you'd like to see reviewed. Lastly, I'll just leave you with my best gameplay clips, and if you're interested in joining the Discord community, I'm trying to do some community events, and I need a community to do that, so feel free to join the Discord community below. Thanks, have a great day.
They're almost to the checkpoint. The enemy passed the checkpoint. Set up your sabotage.
I am down, but not out! Yet. Shield out!
Capture zone moving to a new location. Friendly captured. Capture zone changing location. Get there. Captured. Also, hostiles are winning. They're attacking.
Activating Aegis!
Zone changing coordinates. Your shields are keeping the team alive, Phantom. Capture zone contested. Hostiles on the zone. Zone changing coordinates. Light him up.
Could use a medic! Shield out!
Deploying frag!
Zone is changing location.
Condition!
Activating EMP. Fire up high.
Zone is in danger. Securing the zone. The situation has changed. The capture zone is moving. Oh, Ultra is charged. Capture zone contested. Capture zone contested.
Refreshing.
Zone is in danger. The situation has changed.
I'm sure. Same dude.
Throwing a frag! Swapping mag!
Nothing quite like burning. Frag out.
Oh, I got stuck. Isha. Oof, that guy got.
Take a deep breath.
There we go.
Goes around. Comes around. Package is back.
Requested.
Oh boy.
The enemy is creeping up on the checkpoint.
I'm in bad shape.
Ultra's ready.
With a beat!
Enemy neutralized.
Active camo!
Closing on checkpoint. Closing on their progress point. That's our mission.
Enemies past the checkpoint. Take them out.
Frustrating
Take your exit. Backwards.
Changing mag.
Bye.
Barrier deployed.
Woo! Bye.
Aegis engaged.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Engaging camo.
I need a medic! Revealing enemies!
Zone contested. Zone B compromised. Ultra ready for deployment.
Need a medic! Revealing enemies!
Tango's lighting up the scope. Really coming out of the woodwork.
You can't hide now!
Friendly's on B.
Easy!
Capture zone contested.
Refreshing. Barrier deployed. Throwing grenade!
Sir. Securing the zone.
Changing mag.
Capture zone contested.
Refreshing. Help!
Capture zone contested. The capture zone is changing location. Situation has changed. The capture zone is moving.
How can you see into my eyes?
Opening a can of healers!
Zone is in danger. Capture zone contested.
Hold on into my good. Green and you down to my core, and I'm so numb, sleeping somewhere. Inside.
Capture zone is moving.
Refreshing.
Go down into my. It's sleeping somewhere cool.
Libertad has suffered worse. We won't quit. Really? I taught you everything you know.
Yeah, baby. $420 damage shield. Let's go. And you'll see. Oh my god. Hello, scoreboard. To my EAE. Open. Go down to my
Condition! Critical!
Closing on the checkpoint.
Oh, he got so lucky, dude.
Only one zone left. Keep it free.
Get here! To me!
You're transmitting great intel. This is capture zone contested. Zone under assault. We're on the zone. Is that revenge?
Gotta reload! Scanning for hostiles!
Revealing enemies.
Capture zone is moving. Capture zone can... We're on the zone.
Scanning for hostiles!
No ammunition. Capture zone is moving. Weapon procured. The zone is danger.
Scanning for hostiles!
Ultra ready. Allies on the zone. We're locking down the zone. Zone under assault. We're locking down the zone. Capture zone contested. Capture zone is moving. Sending new location to your OPSAT now.
I need a medic!
Capture zone is moving. Sending new location to your OPSAT now. We're on the zone. Zone under assault.
Scanning for hostiles!
Revenge kill. A professional courtesy.
Can anyone provide first aid?